Temples are buildings or structures used for religious or spiritual activities. They are usually used as shrines for deities and contain inner rooms or spaces intended for worship, both by the ordained and lay people. In Buddhism, the word temple can refer to a variety of structures, including stupas, pagodas, and wats. A stupa is the earliest form of Buddhist religious monuments. It is generally a type of mound used to house relics of the Buddha. Stupas then evolved into pagodas, which are tiered towers with multiple eaves. Wats are buildings that act as temples and schools with resident monks. Temple complexes may consist of several buildings and include any or all of these specific structures. Each of the buildings serves a unique purpose to the function of the temple as a whole. While architectural style and structure vary with region, time period of construction, and the school of Buddhism it is associated with, Buddhist temples share some important common features. Often, Buddhist temples are not just one building, but several buildings or structures grouped together, which are separated based on the purpose each one serves. The most important area in any Buddhist temple is the sacred space. This is where images of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas are kept. Important rituals may also be performed in this area of the complex. This area is always separated from other areas of the temple that are accessible to lay worshippers. The method of separation can vary from simple wooden railings in the room to entire spans of gravel courtyards. Another space of importance in temples is one for the day-to-day needs of the clergy, which is especially crucial if the space is a monastery as well as a temple. Temples in general are also often used to house important relics and sacred objects. Buddhist tradition, especially in the Theravadan world, dictates that devotees must circumnavigate the sacred object, which involves keeping the object to one's right. It's a show of respect dating back to the Buddha's death. It's also a common element to many temples and monuments, since pathways designed to facilitate circumnavigation are often incorporated into the architecture. Although they all share the same basic purpose and some general characteristics, Buddhist temples can vary architecturally from caves cut from rock cliffs to modern buildings of wood and concrete. Some of the oldest examples of Buddhist architecture are cave temples. Cave temples are exactly what the name implies, natural rock formations that have been carved into religious monuments. A large majority of Buddhist cave temples are located in China and India, though the idea of building temples by hollowing out rock faces came from Central Asia. Most of these temples were started in North China as early as the 4th century BC, though many were later expanded. One of the largest and most famous cave temples is the Mogao Caves, also known as the Caves of the Thousand Buddhas, located near Dunhuang, China. The complex currently consists of a collection of 492 temples that are more rock-cut architecture than natural formations, and contain elaborately decorated frescoes and statues ranging in height from 1 inch to 109 feet. The temples were started in 366, when it's said that a monk had a vision of 1,000 Buddhas, thus the name of the temples. For the next 10 centuries, the temples grew, thanks to the monks collecting all sorts of scriptures and manuscripts, and to visiting pilgrims, adding to the painted murals on the cave walls on their way through. The goal of the caves was to be a help on the path to enlightenment. The murals served two purposes, as a guide for meditation and as a way to help share and teach Buddhist stories and beliefs, especially to the illiterate. Other famous Chinese Buddhist cave temples are the Longmen Grottos and the Yungang Grottos. Construction of the Longmen Grottos began in 493 AD, and they contain 2,345 caves, 2,800 inscriptions, 43 pagodas, and over 100,000 Buddhist images. Yungang was built during 460 to 525 AD and consists of 252 grottos with over 51,000 Buddhist statues, making it home to some of the finest Chinese stone carvings from the 5th and 6th centuries. Together, these three temples, the Mogao Caves, the Longmen Grottos, and the Yungang Grottos, are the oldest and most famous architectural sculptures. Another famous example of rock-cut architecture serving as a Buddhist temple is the site of Ellora, located in the Indian state of Maharashtra. Constructed between the 5th and 10th centuries, the caves of Ellora contain 12 Buddhist, specifically Mahayana, 17 Hindu, and 5 Jain caves. Of these, the Buddhist caves are the oldest, dating back to the 5th and 7th centuries. Most of the Buddhist caves serve as large monasteries carved out of the mountain face. In addition to their function as monasteries, many of the caves are also shrines, housing statues of the Buddha, bodhisattvas, and various saints. The ceilings are carved, and many of them are covered in painted geometric designs, while the surrounding walls display sculptures and murals that narrate the life of the Buddha. A unique feature of these caves is that the stone carvings in them were made to resemble wood. In one of the caves, known as the Vishvakarma cave, or the Carpenter's cave, the ceiling is carved so that there appears to be wooden beams across it. Often associated with the Ellora caves are the Ajanta caves, also located in Maharashtra, India. These 29 caves, located in a wooded U-shaped ravine, focus mostly on the Buddhist religion, and are broadly divided into two time periods, those from the 3rd to 2nd centuries BC, and those from the 5th to 6th centuries AD. As with most temples, these caves are covered in paintings and friezes narrating stories from the Buddha's life, ranging from his birth to his enlightenment, and a variety in between. The oldest caves are somewhat mistakenly classified as Hinayana, since they don't contain any statues of the Buddha, which the Hinayana sect used to object to. The later caves are referred to as the Mahayana caves, since they were built during the time when Buddhism was shifting to the Mahayana doctrine. Similar to Ellora, the Ajanta caves also served primarily as monastic centers. The entire site includes many viharas, or monastic halls of residence, and chatyas grihas, or stupa monument halls and meeting places. The viharas come in many different sizes, with most of them being square-shaped. Their architecture ranges from simple to ornate, though the most important element in all of them is the hall. Some of the early viharas don't contain shrines, but they were later incorporated as a standard addition to the back wall of the hall. The main shrines display the Buddha in the Dharma Chakra Pravartana Mudra, representative of his first teachings and the turning of the wheel of Dharma. In addition to the shrines, many of the facades, walls, and ceilings of the viharas are covered with carvings and paintings. The meeting places, or chatyas, are also an important characteristic of the temple complex, with their rows of carved columns and vaulted ceilings. They are similar to any normal building, with the unique feature that the light only enters into the space through one side of the room. Buddhist temples also vary depending on the specific school or sect they are associated with. Theravada is the earliest school of Buddhism and is mostly found in Sri Lanka, continental Southeast Asia, that is, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand, among others, Malaysia, and Indonesia. It has a strict focus on what the Buddha taught and has yielded many significant Buddhist temples over time. Temple architecture and characteristics can vary by country. For example, Thai temples are generally separated from the lay world by two enclosing walls. The monastic quarters are located between the inner and outer walls. Sometimes bell towers are also found in this area between the walls. On the inner walls of some of the larger temples are located images of the Buddha. These act as galleries for meditation. Another characteristic of Thai Buddhist temples is the presence of tall golden stupas. The architecture of Buddhist temples in Thailand is also very similar to those in other Southeast Asian countries like Cambodia and Laos. One of the most significant Theravada temples is Angkor Wat, located in Angkor, Cambodia. The entire complex consists of many temples spanning 40 miles, arranged to architecturally mirror the stars in the sky. The largest structure in the best condition at the site is Angkor Wat, which was originally built in the 12th century as a Hindu religious site, but was converted to Buddhism in the 14th or 15th century. Angkor Wat was designed to symbolize the home of the Hindu gods, called Mount Meru. A moat surrounds 5 internested rectangular walls, each one raised above the next. The temple's architectural style is that of Khmer, that is, Cambodian architecture, and is often compared to the classical style of ancient Greece or Rome. Many of the structures were built with sandstone, except for the secular buildings, which have eroded with time. Characteristic elements of Khmer architecture that appear in Angkor